Today we're making comfort food with a bold twist. We're making butter chicken pot pie. It's the best of both worlds in every bite. Let's get cooking. So I have some onions already going in some butter with some cumin seeds and some fennel seeds. If you don't have those spices, you can leave them out. The main thing is you need 5 tablespoons of butter and 1 finely chopped onion. I'm gonna crank this up a little bit. So these were cooking for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're really soft and well cooked. This is important to Indian food because you don't want any of that raw onion flavor. Next, we need to do our, what I call the wet spice mix or wet flavor base. So this is a mixture of green chilies of some kind. Here I have jalapenos, some garlic, and some ginger. I have 4 cloves of garlic, 2 green chilies, and about a big chunk of ginger. The recipe will be on the website. You can take the seeds out of the chilies if you want so that they are not too spicy. Butter chicken's not supposed to be very spicy. So you can just mince this by hand, but I like to do this in the food processor because it's a lot quicker. There's always a point at which I just have to scrape down the sides, make sure all of these aromatics get down to a really nice fine mince. All right, there we go. Now I'm gonna just transfer that into this pot of beautifully cooking onions and butter. It's smelling amazing in here right now. And one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water in here and kind of rinse it, but I'm gonna save that water and use it as part of my cooking. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup of water, so why not use flavor water? Okay, let's saute that. Literally one of my favorite smells. The base for making curry. So some of you might remember in season 11, I did butter chicken from scratch. So this is a similar base with just a few adaptations. We're gonna add a few extra spices because we're adding some vegetables to this mix as well. So once these are really well cooked and aromatic, we're gonna be adding some spices. So in this spice mix here, I have a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of turmeric, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, and 2 teaspoons of garam masala. Garam masala is a delicious spice mix. It means warming to your constitution. It has a lot of warming spices, cinnamon, peppercorns, cloves, cardamom, often also has cumin in it, and it is the key to the flavor base for butter chicken in general, and for this one in particular. So I just wanna make sure that these have a chance to cook for at least 1 minute to really bloom to their full potential. You want the garlic to mellow out a bit and also the chilies to mellow out a bit, and then everything just to smell and taste really good before we add the spices. And the other thing that's gonna go in here after we put the spices in is 1/2 cup of tomato. I'm using passata tomato, which is just a pureed and strained tomato product you can buy. You can also use just like diced or canned tomatoes as long as you puree them first. If you want to use crushed tomatoes, you can, but I would then reduce the amount to 1/4 cup because crushed tomatoes are quite thick. I'm also gonna add my flavor water to this tomato mixture. Oh, you know the other thing I need to add to this? Almost forgot, salt. Don't wanna forget the salt. 2 teaspoons. So this is a little more than I normally use in my regular butter chicken. And again, that's because I'm adding quite a few vegetables to this dish. So you need a bit more salt to bump it up. Okay, how does this smell? Really good. Okay, let's put, this is our dry spice mix in here. This you just wanna saute briefly, 10 to 20 seconds to help bloom those flavors, but you don't want them to burn, okay? So now we're gonna add our water and tomato mixture. This is why I always have 2 spatulas. Okay, now we're just gonna stir this. So one of the things that's really important, I talk about this every year whenever I make a curry, because I make a lot of them. You wanna make sure that the sauce splits actually. You wanna see the oil floating on the surface of the sauce. That is a sign that the oil and the sauce mixture is at the perfect temperature to make all those spices and aromatics bloom. It's like cooking out the curry. It's one of the most important steps of making a curry and making it taste good. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do that, let that simmer for a couple minutes, get the oil splitting, and right now I'm gonna go grab the vegetables and chicken from the fridge. Okay, so I've got a couple types of vegetables here and a couple of types of chicken. So I've got some diced carrot. There's 2 cups of diced carrot. I have some tiny cauliflower florets, and I'm actually gonna show you quickly how I do that. I'll just get this chicken out of the way for a second here. Hang on, I'm gonna stir my pot It was splitting really nicely. I just stirred that oil and we're gonna let it split one more time. Okay, so for the cauliflower, when you wanna get a tiny little floret, you start with a bigger one and then you're actually just gonna cut around like that and get tiny little florets because you want them to be about the size of the carrot. And you really want to be super tiny with this. Otherwise, they won't cook evenly and they'll also be really unpleasant to eat. You don't want like a mega chunk of cauliflower floret in your pot pie. Okay, let's take a look at the splitting. You can see this oil separation kind of pooling in these little bubbles. That's definitely what we're looking for. Oh, it smells so good in here. Okay, so once it's split and it smells delicious, now we're gonna add our vegetables and our chicken. And I didn't actually talk about the two types of chicken I have here. So you can see I have some boneless, skinless chicken thigh, as well as some boneless, skinless chicken breast. And they're both cut into quite small pieces. Again, so they cook quickly and so it's pleasant to eat. So we're gonna start by putting the chicken thigh in this pot because the chicken thigh takes longer to cook than the chicken breast. And at the same time, we're gonna add these vegetables because they're gonna take a while as well. Partly because they're fairly firm vegetables, but also because this is an acidic sauce. Any sauce that has a bit of acid in it, it'll make vegetables take longer to cook than usual. So these small cut vegetables will cook at about the same time as these chicken thighs. The final thing we have to add is 3/4 of a cup of plain yogurt. Okay, now we're gonna stir this up till it's all nice and even. We're going to make sure it comes up to a simmer and then we are going to reduce the heat to low. We're gonna cover it and it cooks for about 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. And right now it looks kind of dry. Don't worry about that because as it cooks, the chicken thighs will give off quite a bit of juice. So you want it to start out on the dry side. Okay, we're just gonna put the lid on that. I'm gonna turn the heat down. We're gonna let that simmer for about 20 minutes before we add our chicken breast. So remember, you wanna have thighs take much longer to cook than breasts. If you put the breast in right now, it would be dry. So we're gonna let that cook for 20 minutes. When we come back, we're gonna make the biscuits and put it in the oven and finish this delicious butter chicken pot pie. But stick around, after the break, we're on the road.
Cooking on the Road is brought to you by Whisk Victoria, the small but mighty kitchen gadget store for every home chef.
We're here at Lena Lily Farm with Ty James, one of the owners of this wonderful farm, and he's going to tell us all about it. Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, thanks for being here. Yeah, we're a certified organic farm. We're also Canada GAP certified, and we grow a bunch of different crops. We do a lot of different markets, and we work with a lot of local retailers.
So we're in this fabulous greenhouse right now. Do you have a lot of greenhouses?
So these greenhouses we lease, and then we were lucky enough to qualify for the Farm Credit Canada Young Farmers Program to buy some farmland over on McTavish Road.
Amazing. Do you also have field crops as well?
Yeah, we lease about 3 acres of field crops here as well. So between the field production here, the greenhouses here, and then our production over on McTavish, we have our hands full. We only work with like the private local chains. Country Grocer has been a huge supporter of us since our start on a little 1/4 acre plot just off interurban. So they've been with us kind of every step of the way, and now we've been scaling up year after year because Victorians and people within the CRD just really like to buy local.
Yeah, they really do. That's amazing. So you started with 1/2 acre and now you've got 10 acres.
Yeah, approximately. And it's my wife and I running the business, and we've just grown organically, no pun intended, and scaled up year after year, and just trying to get our produce out to the masses.
And you have a farm stand, you were saying, like a self-serve one.
Yes, that's on McTavish Road. We just built it last season, and it's all self-serve, so come stop by and help yourself to some great organic produce.
Those purple flowers over there, those look so beautiful.
Yeah, those are eggplants.
Oh, eggplant.
And yeah, they're just starting to come on now. So here's some of our eggplants here.
Oh,
this is a variety we call
so beautiful.
Anina.
I love the stripes.
We've sold a lot of these through Country Grocer last season, and you'll be able to find these in your local grocery store.
I love it.
Yeah, so what would you do? How would you typically
instantly,
cook?
actually, it's funny because I was thinking of making a curry tonight, and so instantly I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd be adding that to my curry.
Well, please add it to your curry and yeah, enjoy.
I will, thank you so much.
So we also grow a ton of heirloom tomatoes, and these will also be in season here right away. So here's a nice one. We pick them as they're just starting to blush.
Right.
Usually that gives our retail partners about a week for them to ripen up on the shelf.
Gotcha.
So by the time the customer gets that tomato, it's perfectly ripe, ready to eat.
Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this bounty I've got right here. I got this pepper, this tomato, this beautiful eggplant.
We will
time of
have a 12-month production with the new farm.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so we'll be growing a range of different crops, all seasonal crops. So maybe you can tell me some good crops to grow this year.
Sure, I will.
Because I'm always interested to know what the chefs want.
Oh, the chefs want it all, probably.
Yeah. Welcome to the farm stand. Yeah, this
is awesome.
My wife and I built this last year. So we built the farm stand out of milled wood off the property.
Oh, amazing.
So tried to use everything we could from the property to make this happen. So here's some of our fresh produce. Again, all certified organic, all Canada GAP certified for food safety.
It's been going pretty well.
Yeah, no, we've had great community support so far, and just really appreciate all the people that support local and buy from their local farms.
That's amazing. And so if you can't get to the farm stand, then you can buy Lena Lily organic produce at a local grocery store.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cooking on the Coast is brought to you by Country Grocer, with 11 convenient locations across Vancouver Island and Salt Spring.
Welcome back. Let's get this butter chicken pot pie finished. So this has been simmering now for over 20 minutes. You can see how much liquid has come out of this delicious chicken pot pie filling. So it's all the chicken thigh, has a ton of liquid to give off to the sauce, so it's already really nice and saucy. Now we are gonna add our chicken breast. This is only gonna take about 5 minutes to cook. Chicken breast, typically people overcook it and it gets really dry. So we just need it to be just barely cooked through. It's also gonna cook further in the oven. We'll let that simmer for a few minutes while we make our biscuit topping. So pot pie is a deep dish meat pie with usually a flaky pastry top or a puff pastry top. I like to do a biscuit topping. One of the reasons for that is that you get more biscuit out of it. It's more filling and more satisfying. Also, biscuits are easier to make. We're doing these non-bread inspired biscuits. So we're gonna use yogurt like you do in non-dough, and we're gonna garnish it with some spices like you get with non-bread at your Indian restaurant. We've gotten here 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, and in here we have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of sugar. We'll whisk that up till it's all evenly mixed. Now we are gonna add some butter, and let me show you a trick about butter. So butter for biscuits, much like for pie dough, the butter has to be very cold. So this butter I actually had frozen, and one of the quickest and easiest ways to make biscuits, and this actually works for pie dough too, is actually to grate frozen butter on the large holes of your box grater, and that breaks it up into small little pieces ready to go. And what I usually do is I actually roll the butter in flour before I grate it. That way your hand doesn't melt it. So this was 1/2 cup of butter, which is the same as a 1/4 pound. You see those nice, flaky, buttery curls. It really looks like a lot when you grate it. It looks like almost the same amount as the flour, but it's not. Okay, I'm gonna just put this in the sink. So now what you wanna do is fluff this butter up into the flour like this. So we're trying to coat all these little pieces of butter with flour, and then if there's any bigger pieces, you wanna break them up. You wanna rub some of the butter into the flour so the flour is a little buttery, but you still wanna have chunks of butter in there. You still want to see, can you guys see, like it kind of looks granular? So those little chunks of butter, when they're in the oven, they'll melt and they'll make really flaky layers in your biscuit. Now we're going to take a cup of yogurt. This is just plain yogurt. And notice that it is not too thick, okay? If you're going to use some thicker yogurt like Greek yogurt, you might need to use a bit more, like 1 1/4 cups. Okay, now we're just going to mix that up. Now, when you first mix this, it's gonna seem like it's too dry, but don't worry, it'll all come together in the end. So don't be tempted to add more yogurt right away. Okay, now this is the stage where I dump it on the counter. And I think I'm about to maybe blow your mind, I don't know. Some of you already know this, some of you don't. Okay, so right now, you can see how this looks just like a super dry mess, like it's not gonna hold together. Well, do not panic, it totally will. So first you're gonna try and force it into kind of like a square shape. Then you're gonna take your bench scraper, cut it in half, and you're gonna stack one stack on top of the other. You're gonna press it down again. Then you're gonna fold it in half, press it again, and you can see what's happening is I'm building flaky layers, kind of like puff pastry, honestly, while you're doing this, but it's also mixing the dough without overworking it. So you're just gonna keep doing that. You're just gonna keep either cutting it and stacking it or folding it until you have a cohesive dough. And you can already see the flaky layers that are building there. Now, we can put a little bit of flour down, just a teensy bit. And then we're gonna get a rolling pin. See that? Doesn't that look cool? You never knew it was gonna come together like that if you didn't add more flour, but you didn't need to. Okay, so we're gonna roll it out. We need to just add a little bit more flour to that. We're gonna flip it over. And you need to be kind of like an 8x8 square, about half an inch thick, just so that once we cut these biscuits, we have enough to cover the top of our butter chicken pot pie. Okay, let's quickly check the filling first. So, oh yeah, it's simmering nicely. These chicken breast pieces are looking nicely cooked. This smells really, really good. I'm just gonna let that simmer for just another minute while I finish this up here. So we're gonna brush the top of these biscuits. I've got a mixture here of whipping cream and milk, because that's what I had in the fridge. You could also use, coffee cream. If you want to, you can use egg, but I do find that in this instance, the egg wash gets too brown, and it might encourage you to pull it out of the oven before it's ready. So cover the entire surface with this milk. Then we're gonna sprinkle some kind of spices on here. So cumin seeds, some crushed garlic. What I'm gonna add are these things here called nigella seeds, otherwise known as onion seeds. They're a really common spice in northern India, and they're often used in naan dough. And the other thing is I could have actually put them in the dough itself instead of just on top, so it's up to you. But they have a really nice flavor. They kind of look like black sesame seeds, but they are their own spice. I just like to cover the whole thing so everybody has a nice bite. So nigella seeds. And then I always like to kind of pat them. Now, before we cut the biscuits, we're gonna add some peas to our butter chicken pot pie and filling. These are just some frozen green peas, 2 cups. I'm gonna stir that in. This just gives it a bit of color. Peas taste really good with curry, and they're also commonly put in traditional pot pie. So this is just a little callback to tradition. Now what we're gonna do is we are gonna put that into our casserole. Okay. So we're gonna throw this into our casserole. So you want it to be nice and warm for this step. If you make this filling ahead of time, you can reheat it on the stovetop, or you can just put it right into the casserole, cover it with foil, and reheat it for half an hour. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut these into 12 biscuits. So we'll do 4 this way and 3 the other way. So you can definitely cut this with a round biscuit cutter. I like to just do square biscuits because then you don't have to re-roll scraps. You can just use the entire thing and none of the biscuits will be tough. So you can see how soft this dough is now compared to when I first mixed it up. Okay, so then we're gonna cover the entire surface. So you might end up with an extra biscuit, but I start by putting the large biscuits on first in case I can't fit them all. So we're gonna cover the whole surface. And you can put this in any size casserole as long as it's relatively large. Okay, check that out. Now we're gonna throw it in the oven. You want this in a 375 to 400 degree oven, depending on your oven. Okay. So that's gonna take 25 to 30 minutes to cook for everything to bubble up and for the biscuits to get fluffy. So I have one already made. It's hard to close the oven and carry a heavy casserole. Look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? Okay, I'm just gonna do a super quick salad that I like to do with this recipe. You can serve it with whatever you want or even just on its own. Right here, I have some sliced cucumber, some very thinly sliced red onion, some fresh chopped herbs. Right here, I have some dill and some cilantro. The vinaigrette is white vinegar, sugar, and salt. So very simple, very light, very refreshing. It's a really nice counterpoint to this rich dish. So I'm gonna get this all mixed up and then I am gonna plate this up. Look at that beautiful, very simple salad. All right, let's get some bowls out of here. So everybody would like a biscuit or 2. Oh, one other thing I forgot when I was making it before that I'm supposed to put 3/4 of a cup of whipping cream in it. I can't believe I made a gaffe like that. However, this one has the whipping cream in it. That not just the cooking it in the butter, but also the whipping cream really makes this dish. All right, so we have 2 dishes of butter chicken pot pie. And then I'm gonna put the cucumber salad in here. Then I'm just gonna tuck it in beside these little biscuits. All right, and now a little bit of cilantro because You know how chefs are, we always need to add a little bit of extra beautiful color. All right, there you have it. Delicious butter chicken pot pie with golden flaky non-style biscuits, this rich creamy filling, all those warming spices. This is comfort food with serious flavor.
Hang tight, we've got the perfect pour to go with this plate. Coming up next.
Pairings are brought to you by Liquor Plus. Discover the plus.
Our butter chicken pot pie is creamy and packed with warm, comforting spice. But now comes the big question. What is the perfect pairing to go with it? Luckily, we've got just the expert. Cheryl from Liquor Plus is here to help us out. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome.
And thank you for having me back. I'm really excited about this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I brought was Lake Breeze from Okanagan, of course, the spice jar.
The spice jar.
Yes.
Oh, this sounds like it's a good
So it is a Gewürztraminer.
A Gewürztraminer.
It is, which actually in German literally translates to spice.
Oh, You know
Yeah.
what? Even though I have German heritage, I did not know that.
Isn't that interesting?
My dad
Yes.
is ashamed right now. He's shaking his head as he's listening to this.
Oh dear. Oh, Dad, you'll get over it. So yeah, so spice, and then the traminer is actually the grape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like spice grape.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there you go. So
Cheers,
cheers
thanks.
to that.
Ooh, so good. That's like
Isn't
kind
it?
of very aromatic and floral.
Super aromatic. You get that little bit of sweetness to
Yeah.
it, but it's still off dry. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to pair beautifully.
I think it's going to taste kind
of.
of like a chutney with this, is what I think. And that's the vibe I'm
Okay,
getting.
I like that.
I can see why Gewürztraminer is frequently paired with curries.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to go spoon or fork. I gave you both.
Okay.
So there's biscuit and curry. I don't know. Do whatever.
Okay,
Do
I'm gonna go
let's do
spoon.
it. I'm gonna get a little bit of biscuit.
Okay, yeah, me too.
And a little bit
biscuit.
of curry. That's my favorite.
Those flavors. So good.
love
Okay.
it.
So, try that again.
Okay. I'm excited.
Are
Yeah.
you getting the spices
Oh my God.
from the
it
wine?
makes the spices explode in your mouth.
Right? So
Yeah.
those spices that you're catching onto are the garam masala.
Yeah.
So you got some cinnamon, some
Yeah.
allspice in there.
That's
Really
incredible.
pairs
Like really,
beautifully.
like I took a sip of wine and it really, I don't know how to describe it. It just like enhanced the flavors
It
of this
does.
so
Yeah,
well.
but again, not
Yeah,
overpowering.
no, this was
right?
fantastic.
Yeah.
It is quite difficult to pair with Indian food, so this was amazing.
It is. Yeah, I'm really pleased about this one.
Thanks so much for joining me. This was fantastic.
Oh, thanks again for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Heidi.
And thanks for joining me on this delicious journey. Until next time, keep cooking, keep exploring. I'm Chef Heidi Fink. Remember, the more you learn, the better it tastes.
All right, Heidi,
Yeah?
you're up now. You have to pronounce the wine.
Gewürztraminer.
Oh, you are German, for sure.